One of the biggest challenges that we run into in organizations, whether it's a family organization or a team that's playing hockey or football, or it's your specific business, one of the biggest challenges we run into is communication. I see this across the clients I've had a chance to work with, both one-on-one and in teams. We think that communication actually occurred. We think that somebody on the other end understood, they both heard, understood, and will do the thing that we just discussed. Let's break that down into smaller pieces and figure out why communication continues to be a challenge. Well, number one, there are things that are said. We can go back in here and we can watch the recording of this, and you can look at a transcript and see everything that was said, everything that was picked up in the transcript. There are things that are heard. We can have 10 different people listen to this video, and it is highly likely that each of those people will hear something slightly different. And then there are things that are remembered. Said, heard, remembered. Unfortunately, those are rarely all the same. There are going to be things that people will say that they heard me say in this video that I didn't say. If we went back and watched it, we'll find that I didn't say it. There are going to be things that are remembered from it that I didn't say. Said, heard, remembered. Remember that in every conversation that you have. So how do we take care of it? Number one, we trust that the person on the other end is listening and verify. Trust and verify. What did you hear me say? Is a very simple question that you can ask. And if you ask it in the wrong context, people can get defensive. If you ask it with the right tone and in the right context with a perspective on serving others, there will be less defensiveness that happens. So trust that they heard, then verify. What did you hear me say? Next piece that we want to understand relative to actually getting things done is who will do what by when. Who will do what by when? Said, heard, remembered, trust, but verify. Who will do what by when? The reason we want to know who will do what by when is if there's a specific next step or specific action, we want to make sure that it's going to take place. It's going to occur. The only way that we can make sure, or at least ensure a higher probability of success, is confirm who the person is, will do what by when. Who will do what by when. The key thing here that we want to understand are the next steps, right? So what are the next steps? My preference is no more than 3 next steps. Sometimes it might be important for just one single next step. If you have to go beyond 3, try to keep them in odd numbers, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But next steps, who or what are the specific next steps? Lay those out. Relative to the next steps, who's the person who's going to accomplish those? And then what is the timeline for when those things need to be done? So what, who, when? What, who, when, relative to next steps. If you do these things, you're going to get better at communication. Remember, said, heard, remembered, trust, but verify, trust and verify, who will do what by when. Do those things, you and your team will get better at communication. Now, here's another thing that you can do. So we're going to go into 3 different sections in this video. This is the first piece. The second piece is being prepared for meetings and for the interactions that you have with folks. As you go through the process of setting things up with communication, let's make sure we apply some call plan components here. So who are we communicating with? Your call plan. Who are the people? If there's multiple people, you're going to create more complexity. If it's one person, it's going to be a little bit less complex and things can be more clear, probably a little bit less risk. Who? What do we anticipate are their objectives? What do they want to accomplish? What are their goals of the meeting? What do they want to accomplish? What do we want people thinking, feeling, saying, doing from their side? What do they want to be thinking, feeling, saying, doing? What are their objectives? What are our objectives? On our side, what do we accomplish? What are our goals? If we understand the goals of others and we know what our goals are, relative to the people that are going to be in the room, we're going to be in a much better position to be able to predict desired next steps. And remember, these are desired next steps. We're predicting what those next steps are. If you're meeting with someone and you're having a conversation around where you're going to go to dinner, where you're going to go eat, or if they're even going to join you to eat, the desired next step might be confirmation that they're going to do it, they're going to meet you, location on where, and expectations around time. So if we get to the who, we'll do what by when. In this instance, then it'll be really clear and we'll have a better or higher likelihood that we'll achieve the result that we're looking for. Now with this call plan framework, and that's what this is, it's a call plan framework that I use as an effective meeting tool when working with organizations and working with people, when working with clients on this. It's important for us to know the who's, anticipate objectives, know what our goals are, and align on what our expected or desired next steps are before we go in. Now, this is not an agenda. It is a call plan. It's an effective communication tool. This is one of those things that will help you gain perspective relative to others. A lot of people will talk about empathy, but I don't think they know exactly what that word means. I know it's inconceivable. You've heard me say that joke before from The Princess Bride, but if we know the who's, we know the objectives, we know on both sides, and we know our desired next steps, we're going to have a higher likelihood of success. So that's part 2 of the video. Part 3 of the video is thinking about communication in the context of the specific jobs to be done of the communication that you're putting out there. Now let's think about it in the context of meetings. Now my view when it comes to meetings, having effective meetings with people, is there are 3 types of meetings. The number one is we're going to convey information and get feedback. So we're going to have information and feedback. This is one of those meetings where you'll see it. You'll be in one of those where someone is sharing information with a group. We're pushing information out, maybe putting some information up on the whiteboard. And then we pause and we ask for questions, ask for comments, get feedback. There's some kind of loop that's happening there. If you're doing an information meeting and you're not expecting any feedback, you're not going to answer any questions, just hit record. A tool like this, I use Camtasia to record this stuff, hit record and then share that recording. The reason the feedback is so important in these kind of meetings is because it helps you understand, hey, what do people understand? What do they get? What do they not get? What are some of the questions? Where are some of your blind spots relative to the information? A typical sales meeting, there's ones that might happen once a month or once a quarter, or hopefully not once a week. But in a typical sales meeting, what you're doing is you're conveying information and you're working on getting feedback from the market, working on getting feedback from the team. What I like to ask in these meetings are these 3 questions. And there's not always going to be an answer to the 3, but the 3 are always out there. What's working? What's not working? Where are you stuck? What's working? What's not working? Where are you stuck? So we're going to share information. We're going to expect to get some feedback. We might roll out a new process. And I want to know context. What do people know? What do they care about? What are they thinking about? What questions they have, because it's going to inform how I adjust the content as we go forward, as we document the content and then get the standard out there. The number 2 type of meeting, a decision-making meeting. Now, in a decision-making meeting, my expectation here is that before people come into the meeting, they know what the decision is that we're going to make, like what is the thing that we're deciding on, stop, continue, start something new, comes from that, what's working, what's not working, where are we stuck? So you see how these pulls together. Where are we going to start? Where are we going to stop? What are we going to continue? Where are we going to invest something? In a decision-making meeting, we need to know what the decision is going to be, high level of clarity around what the decision is. And the second piece is, what are our criteria around how we're going to make the decision? So here, I want to know what, and I want to know how. What decision, and then what criteria. Now, the third piece that I want to know is who needs to be in the room. So relative to the what and the how, who are the who's? Who are the who's that need to be in the room in order to help inform that decision? That is the second type of meeting. So we have information with Q&A, and then we have decision making. And then the third one is a collaborative meeting. And this is the one where I think we spend other than the meeting that could have been an email or that could have been just a video, this is the one where we waste the most amount of time. And it's not just the time that we spend in the meeting, in these collaborative meetings. It's the downstream effect of what happens when we waste time in these meetings. And what do I mean by that? If we are not clear around who will do what by when, you will have the same type of meeting over and over and over again. Kind of rhymes. If we're not clear on who will do what by when, you will have that same meeting over and over and over again. So let's be really clear around what we're collaborating on. The guided whiteboard sessions that I do with clients are around either problem solving. So let's work through that hexagon together. Let's get all of the information out. Process design. Let's design for a specific experience, or alignment on strategy and tactics. And I do that with teams of up to 10 people for up to 90 minutes and guarantee results on those. If you've not seen that type of a meeting, it will completely change the way that you operate and communicate inside your business once you see it. And you'll be looking for more of that. And those are those collaborative or guided whiteboard sessions. So collaborative meetings, this is where we waste a lot of time, not just in the meeting and all the resources, but over a period of time where we continue to have those conversations over and over and over again, talking about the same things and expecting different things to happen. So the third type of meeting is that collaborative meeting. And this is where you're taking the collective intelligence of a large group of people to get their perspective so that you can figure out, hey, what do we need to convey out there and get feedback on? What kind of decisions do we need to make? How do we actually move the business forward based on the collective experience of the group? So we've gone through 3 things today. We hit on some of the major challenges with communication, what you can do about it. Laid out a call plan tool to help improve communication, whether it's in emails that you're sending out, newsletters that you're putting together, meetings that you're having with a group of people. And then we laid out the 3 types of meetings. If you have questions around this, you know a guy. This is the kind of stuff that I do with organizations. Solving this communication problem is critical for me. And the reason why it's critical is I know, and I've experienced this, when we miss on communication, assumptions get made. When assumptions get made, work doesn't get done. When work doesn't get done, organizations don't move forward. And that is a leadership challenge that we need to solve for. And I want to help you on the communication side. If you have feedback on this, please let me know. I'd love to get some feedback from you, comments on whether or not this type of format on a weekly basis is helpful. If you know somebody who is looking for help in this area, you know a guy, and I appreciate the referrals. You can find your catalyst at findmycatalyst.com.